Good morning, everyone. Welcome to all who have gathered both in this space and online. Your participation in our Sunday service is a gift that is welcome to me. I'm so glad to see new faces in all of you. Welcome this morning, this day, this opportunity to be together in community, which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenge. This Unitarian, Universalist, multi-platform congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we figured out life's questions or because we think we got it right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together, how to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. I am Reverend Mandy Goheen. My pronouns are she, her. Feel free to call me Mandy or Reverend Mandy or Rev because I have lots of names and identities, just like the people here, just like the people everywhere who are authentic in coming together. Let us move into worship willing to be authentic with each other, honest with ourselves, and open to the connection in all its forms. I am pleased to invite Kirk up to be our worship associate for today. I'm really thrilled to get this practice going again, and Kirk will say a little bit about that.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kirk Burton, and I'm a member of this congregation. My pronouns are he, him. I'm also co-chair of our worship committee. Working.
This is wobbling.
Is it wobbling?
And
I probably have it balanced on something.
yeah, let's get a little closer there.
All right. I'm also the co-chair of our worship committee, where we work on worship. So we're known as the Wowzers. If you'd like to learn more about the Wowzers, please drop us a line at office@uuc.org or find me after the service. Our opening words this morning come from Evan Carville Zimmer, Congregational Life Consultant for UUA's Central East region. Our soul speaks spring. If we lived in another climate, our souls might speak other languages. We might speak oasis or permafrost, dry season or monsoon. But our souls speak spring. Our souls speak green shoots pushing through last year's leaves. Our souls speak flower buds stretching to the sun. Our souls speak mud puddle and nest building, damp earth and worm castings, tiny green leaves, and frog choruses. We speak spring because spring sings in us. We gather to nurture our faith in our own growing our own courage to push through, our own blossoming in beauty, our own small part in the spring of this world. Come, let us worship together. And our chalice lighting this morning is from Sharon Wiley. The hours of day and night are in balance. In honor of earth-centered traditions that celebrate this time of year, we observe that the flaming chalice holds the elements of the four directions: earth, air, fire, water. The lamp oil for earth, the air that feeds the flame, the fire that we light, and the chalice itself, the cup, the symbol of water. We light our chalice and reflect on the balance we seek in our lives, the balance we seek in our hearts, and the balance we seek in our world. Our opening song this morning is number 61, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again. Now is our time for all ages, and this morning our story is And the Good Brown Earth by Kathy Henderson. When Graham went to the vegetable patch, Joe came too. It was nearly winter. Now's digging time, said Gran, and she picked up her spade and dug that ground into big old lumps. Joe dug too. He made a hole and a heap and a squishy place for squishing in. And the good brown earth got on with doing what the good brown earth does best. Next time Gran went to the vegetable patch, Joe came too, and there was snow on the ground. Joe ran and jumped and slid and whooped. Gran stood and looked. Now's thinking time, said Gran, thinking about all the changing things in her garden book. Joe thought too. He thought up a snowman. Next time Gran went to the vegetable patch, Joe came too. There was spring in the air. Now's planting time, said Gran, and she raked out the loose earth, smooth as breadcrumbs, and planted seeds in long, straight rows. Joe planted too, lots of seeds, here, there, and who knows where. And the good brown earth got on with doing what the good brown earth does best. Next time Graham went to the vegetable patch, Joe came too. And the birds were singing, and the trees were flowering, and the rain and the sun were chasing each other across the sky. Now's watching time, said Graham, keeping an eye on those hungry birds. And she made a scarecrow and tucked it into the ground. Joe watched too. Graham, Graham, he shouted, there are green spikes coming up. Next time Graham and Joe went to the vegetable patch, it was green all over. Now's weeding time, said Graham. And she picked up her long-handled hoe and grubbed up all those weeds between her vegetable rows. Joe pulled up a few weeds too. At least he hoped they were weeds. Then he rolled in the long grass and sang. Next time Graham and Joe went to the vegetable patch, it was hot, hot, hot. The plants were drooping, and the earth was dry. Uh-oh, said Graham, now's watering time. And she hooked up the hose to the old tap and ran it to the plants, sweet as rain. Joe watered too, mainly himself. And he gave Graham the second ripe strawberry. Soon Joe's ma and pa took the whole family to the beach. And Graham and Joe went too. Now's resting time, said Graham, stretching out for a snooze. The sun shone and the breeze blew. And the good brown earth got on with doing what the good brown earth does best, day after golden day. The next time Graham went to the vegetable patch, and Joe came too, of course, what did they find? Oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. There were Graham's plants standing tall and ripe and lush. And there were Joe's higgledy-piggledy, tangly, fantastic. Joe jumped up and down and hugged and hugged and hugged his own Graham tight. But what? But how? But who? Asked Joe. Graham hugged him back. You'd have to ask the good brown earth, she said. Then she took her long-pronged fork and opened up the ground, and there were pale brown potatoes, like buried treasure, and carrots and parsnips and beets. Now's gathering time, said Graham, filling her basket. And Joe gathered too, beans and greens, ladybugs and grasshoppers, dandelions and fat tomatoes, And he ate so many blackberries that purple juice ran all down his chin. And when they'd finished gathering, Graham and Joe loaded up the wheelbarrow and set off home, ready for feasting time. And the good brown earth got on with doing what the good brown earth does best. Now's the time to sing out our young people to RE, so if you'd please join me, the words are in the order of service.
Let's take a deep breath together. Listen to the sounds of people and babies and cars. This has been another one of those weeks where things have been a paradox. So hard in the world and so beautiful at the same time. It's hard sometimes to balance our hearts. Last night at the amazing talent show, there was laughter and there was joy and talent emerging that people had no idea they had or hoped they had. I saw new folks engaging. I saw what I love in my mind as beloved community happening in this space. And still, war, and still mass incarceration, and still systemic racism, and still laughter, and still joy. If we are authentic people, we welcome that paradox into our hearts, and we use it in resourceful ways. We're going to take a moment. I'm going to ring the bowl. We're going to just take a moment of silence just to contemplate the paradox and what's on your heart. I'll ring it again, and then I'll invite you forward to light a candle of joy or concern for whatever you are carrying. But first, some silence. And I like to light some extra candles because I know there are so many unspoken joys and concerns in our heart. And I wonder what Grandma in the book would have done with those. I think she would have given them to the good brown earth. So, I just want to give a little plug out for the Working on Worship group, the Wowzers. A shout out for how much that group enriches me. I've had this happen and I love it. I've had a whole service kind of put together. I thought I knew where it was going. And then Kirk picks this book. And I learned something new about myself that I didn't know. I didn't realize growing up how much the rhythm of the garden ruled my life. I didn't realize that we were at the beach in late July when it was hot and nothing could really be happening in the garden other than misery, and the ocean was better. I didn't realize how tuned in we all were to the seasons. Having grandparents who were devout farmers and farmer scientists who were always experimenting with crops made me curious about plants. And of course, it made it something that I was interested in as an adult, and something about having my hands in that good brown earth makes me feel connected to them. But I also think about the dark times of the year that are part of the garden as well, the fallow times. And as an adult, when I began to study more about gardening and learning about something called permaculture, where you grow permanent plants and you're not constantly digging the soil and tromping on it, and it's sustainable. When I was learning about that, I started hearing about the time of year, usually in February, and it's called the Persephone time. Well, Persephone is a Greek goddess, and she is the Greek goddess of new blooms. And she is pretty awesome. She was very gorgeous and hard to leave alone. And so all the young male gods were like, hey, Persephone, what's up? Well, her mother was the goddess of the seasons. And she did not approve of Persephone running off with all these guys. So Hades, the god of hell, cooked up a scheme and came and captured Persephone and took her to the underworld. And when Persephone is in the underworld, she gets hungry. And there was a rule before she left. She couldn't eat anything there or she would remain. She would become part of that. Well, you get hungry. And you might eat 6 pomegranate seeds. I think if I got hungry, it probably would have been more than 6 pomegranate seeds. But apparently, she finally just couldn't take the beauty of the food and all the things that Hades was offering her, and she ate the 6 pomegranate seeds, and he's like, I gotcha. You're going to stay down here. Well, Demeter, her mother, begins to mourn. And because she is the goddess of the seasons, the earth begins to mourn with her. The trees change color brilliantly. Think about like a memorial service. Right when somebody dies, we get flowers and we do all this really focused celebration. And that's kind of like the fall, right? The beauty of the trees, the harvest. The garden is dying, but there are still things to bring in and nourish us. The beauty is there. And then there becomes a time as Persephone is in the underworld that Demeter begins grieving more strongly, and the seasons are changing. It's getting cold. This is totally farmers trying to figure out answers to that good brown earth, right? Like, why is what is happening along the way? Well, Demeter talks to Zeus, the king of the gods, and she says, I want my daughter back. This is ridiculous. I can't even take care of the earth. Look at how it's deteriorating. And he said, well, she ate some pomegranate seeds, and she really can't come back. And they struck this deal because the earth was falling apart with her grief, that she would stay in Hades for 6 months, 6 seeds, and above ground in the heavens and the earth for the other 6 months. So there's our season myth, right? So as Demeter is mourning, things are big celebration. And then mourning is weird, right? Like there are times where we're just kind of stuck in it and we're just kind of sad. And then as time goes by, we start to see the buds on the trees and the tiny shoots, and the sun is changing where it is in the sky. And we start to wake up, and that grief starts to shift into new beginnings, which in the Christian context is leading up to Easter, right? So we're talking about that new beginning, that resurrection of the good brown earth, bringing up the shoots in celebration that Persephone is getting ready to return. I didn't realize how much my life revolved around the calendar of the garden until Kirk brought this book. And I know I said that, but I think of the dark days of winter and my gramp studying the seed catalogs and checking his seedling potatoes that he has stored downstairs and making sure that the jars and things they've put away are still good to eat. I think about his favorite dinner. His favorite dinner usually came around August. It was white sweet potatoes that only our family grew, kidney beans, and sliced tomatoes and fresh pickles. And that was the dinner that we celebrated that harvest with. Gramps' favorite dinner, even if we thought it was gross, because it's all right. I just still relish the idea of eating those starchy, maybe not so delicious sweet potatoes that somebody carried all the way from Germany, and by gosh, we're going to eat them. I miss that. I miss that connection to him. But my other grandpa was also a genius about the garden, and he thought he could outsmart Persephone and Hades, and he built this elaborate hotbed system where the warm water was pumped under the seedlings, and then he would put window frames over top, and he would have his garden up before anyone else in town, and he got so good at it that he started selling plants. I still walk on the wall of those hotbeds, he called them, when I go home. I still balance along and hope I don't fall into the compost in the middle. And I still think of scraped knees falling off that wall and worm castings. My grandpa had a worm well, which was this pipe sunken into the ground, and that's where we threw all our compost. And he would electrify the dirt, I promise. And the worms would come up, and he would collect them and sell them for fishing bait. So, these people are using the good brown earth, and I am so grateful for having that as part of my understanding of my own authenticity. I joke that I'm an outside dog. If I'm wandering around, which I do often, many times I'll just be outside and be like, all right, I don't know why I'm here. I guess I'll feed a chicken or I'll do something. But what surprised me recently was this whole farm I'm talking about. My brother just got to buy back part of it, and he has my grandparents' house, and I was celebrating that the farm is back intact and blah, blah, blah. And so I was talking to my brother last week, and I was like, okay, what's going on next? And he's like, I'm tearing the house down. And I was like, what? What? I'm tearing great-grandpa's house down. The yellow house? Yes. The house I grew up in? Yes. Why? Because I want to mow. I was like, oh no. Here we go. And it wasn't anything wrong. It is a house that's falling down. It was a Sears and Roebuck kit house bought in the early 1900s. It's got some problems. And but he wants it out of the way. And despite the idea that I've been thinking about planting and all the joy I have on that place, that sparked this little seed of grief in me that about knocked me off my feet. I thought, I am the only one who can defend that this house needs to stay standing. I'm the only one. And I went from being like, oh my gosh, the farm's intact, everything's okay, to talking to my brother who's like, I'm tearing this down and this down and that down. And I was like, oh, my heart. But it's also something, I am not the caregiver of that farm. I don't get to make the decisions, but he is going to give me some wood. Yeah, we got it worked out. But grief was unexpected, and I think that's what I think about in this time of rebirth and sprouts and blooms and Bradford pear, runny nose, and all the stuff. I think about there's also loss represented there. I think about this turning of the seasons and how if we just pretend like things like that house doesn't bother me, I could just be like, oh, whatever, that doesn't bother me, that you're tearing down my house. My house, hear that? My house. You're tearing my family house down. That's okay. I'm just going to ignore that and not pretend that that's giving me grief. Or I can talk to him about it. And he's probably still going to tear the house down. But at least I had an opportunity to process my feelings and not just have this awkward question hanging. Anybody have awkward questions in their families that hang around? This awkward, I'm going to assume what he thinks. So sometimes grief is a tool to bring up questions we need to ask. Those questions are like those blossoms coming up, the shoots of the daffodils or the lilies of the valley, the Lenten roses. It's the springing forth of questions. Because I'm sure when Persephone returned to her mother's loving arms, there were some questions and there was some discussion. When we blow past our grief, when we don't acknowledge things that bother us by being curious about them, it can cause conflict. And the thing that worries me the most in my experience is it can cause more grief. Like we're holding on to it. We're deciding what it means. So it's also something to be shared. This time of year is glorious, but there is hurt in the world. We can look at a beautiful tree and, like I said in the meditation, be in the paradox of being heartbroken about the Ukraine. Be in the paradox of being sick and tired of many injustices around us. We can be in the paradox of beautiful people being incarcerated, and in the paradox that our privilege gives us so much, including this space to be thoughtful together and authentic and think about not just the good brown earth, but how the good brown earth tells us a story, how it helps us through grief. And my challenge for you today is if you are brave and you would like to pull your shoes and, not right now, pull your shoes and socks off at some point, or just and walk in the good brown earth, or stick your hands in it today. Just connect with that. If we don't connect with the whole story, the spring, the summer, the fall, and the winter, then we don't acknowledge the whole story. And we don't have an opportunity to process grief and celebrate renewal in the same way. May it be so, and blessed be. And now I'm excited because we have a donate the plate today that is, this poor person has no idea how near and dear to my heart. Alex, right? No? Oh, I have the wrong name. I was going to invite Alan. I thought I could remember your name. Alan is a staff member at Caleb and the chair of the Criminal Justice Task Force. We're donating the plate to the Hamilton County Community Bail Fund. After doing prison ministry for 5 years and working in jails in Montgomery, Alabama, I want to tell you that bail fund is critical and life-saving to people. It is the difference between being stuck and winding up in prison because you can't pay and having some defense. So I just want us to be really welcoming and supportive of this. This is a hard subject, but it's kind of like what we were talking about. We got to deal with that to take care of the world and be where it's blossoming. So I welcome you to come up. I hope you knew that. Do you need do you need me to throw that? No, probably not. Here you go. Do whatever you need. Make yourself comfortable.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mr. Alan Swapshire. I am a community organizer for Caleb. Caleb stands for Chattanooga's in Action for Love, Equality, and Benevolence. Yeah. Thank you. We're a local nonprofit organization. We consist of nonprofits, labor unions, churches, individual members who are not a part of organizations. We're an organization of organizations. We believe in people power. We believe in organized people, organized money, collectively coming together. We build true power together. Thank you. The Hamsa County Community Bail Fund was started back in 2018. The reason we started the Hamsa County Community Bail Fund, for someone like myself, I'm a formerly incarcerated male, but I stand on, just because I'm a formerly incarcerated male doesn't determine my capabilities in the future or what I'm capable of doing moving forward.
Amen.
Thank you. The Hamilton County Community Bail Fund actually hinders and stops within the beginning, before a person, when a person is arrested, in the beginning stages, after they see a magistrate will set them a bond. We actually intervene in those beginning stages because when a person cannot afford to pay a bondsman, which is like 10%, so if their bond is $1,000, they'll pay a bondsman at least $100. If they cannot afford that $100, that's when we come into play. We bail people out up to, we originally started with $5,000, now we're up to $10,000 where we bail people out. We bail people out from basic misdemeanors, no violent charges, no previous charges with that's already pending, and also no fees that are pending. But outside of that, all we need is a community reference, community contact. We reach out to them. If they say they vouch for them, we actually go down there and we pay the full amount to bail someone out. So the Hamsa County Community Bail Fund has been around for a while. This is something that's near dear to me. If it was around during the time I was getting incarcerated, I definitely would have made that call to them. But that's why I'm here, and that's my passion. That's why I'm a part of this organization, because they believe in someone like myself, from being a formerly incarcerated person, to be able to speak on these issues. My task force is currently, and I have some flyers and postcards for you all if you all would love to, reach to me. I have my cards, but we are beginning an End Cash Bail campaign. And what we're saying is cash bail shouldn't determine if a person, that doesn't determine if a person is a threat to the community. So we have an upcoming event in April where we're hosting with Vera Institute to talk about public safety and what public safety is and what public harm is. Public harm definitely is when someone cannot afford to be able to get out and they haven't been committed of a crime because they haven't seen a judge. They're just sitting there just being accused of a crime that they haven't been committed of. So thank you all for donating towards us, and I really appreciate that.
So let's be super generous, and the offering will be gratefully received. please join me in our offertory response that can be found in your order of service, the mission of this church. We give these gifts freely, committed to our mission to care, create beloved community, awaken hearts and minds, resist injustice, act with compassion, embrace life, and care for the earth. To this work, we dedicate our offerings. Our closing song is number 354, We Laugh, We Cry. Is it a short song? I'm kidding. It's kind of long and very fun to sing, so let's stand up and sing it. She just asked if I wanted to skip a verse. Do what you will. I ended early.
Let's sing 1, 3, and 4.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. It has like 40. Okay, good.
Verses 1, 3, and 4.
All right.
We laugh, we cry, we live, we die. We dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give. We have our thoughts to receive. And we believe that sharing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die. And when our lives are done, the memories we shared with friends, they will linger on and on. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a need to be together. We have the right to grow. We have the gift to believe that peace within our living is an answer. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see even to question truly is an answer.
So I always get these backwards. I want to do so what and then extinguish the chalice. I was just looking at this song. Makes me smile. I like this. We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. What else would we be doing here, right? Hopefully. So what? So what about Persephone and Demeter and grief and growing things, and you just told me to walk in the mud? So what about all that? I think that being with growing things, because I am a religious naturalist and nature is at the heart of my understanding of the world and what God might be, I think that being with growing things gives me the strength to be in that paradox. And not everybody is at growing things. Some people, it's playing music. Some people, it's spinning yarn or drawing a picture or fighting for justice or putting our money where our mouth is. It can be all kinds of things. It can be all kinds of things that give us the tools to handle the paradox in our lives. It can be invention. It can be observation. But it always should be curious. And it always remember, let that, whatever it is you love to do, draw you into being your most authentic self, your most centered self, a self you can be not only here in this church, but a self you can be when you go out on the street. And that's why it's so special for me to be your minister, because I get to be here and encourage y'all to be as authentic and true as you can be. And it is such an honor. So with that, I would like to invite Judy back up so we can extinguish our chalice. The extinguishing words are in the order of service. Say them like you mean them. We extinguish this flame, but keep the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. And now I'm going to do announcements. I just went right into that and didn't tell. Take a breath. Some announcements. So if you took amazing pictures last night, and I know Judy loaded some up to Facebook, please email those to the office. We'd like to put a little collection montage together. Who knows, we might even get somebody to yodel as background music for a lovely slideshow. You just never know. Moo. Oh, sorry. Moo. Today, there is going to be a Membership 101 class right here in the sanctuary. I'm winking at my husband because we rode in one car. If you are interested in giving me a ride home, I'm kidding. If you are interested in becoming a member, this is one of your first steps. We're going to do a new member Sunday on May 1st. It'll be an opportunity to join the church formally. So we just wanted to make that announcement. And one of the steps to joining our church is doing the Membership 101. It's also super fun. I had somebody who's been a congregant for years come last time, and they were great insight and input to the life of this church. It lasts about 30 minutes. You probably have time to run and get a snack. So 1 o'clock. And then tonight is super special too. We're having our beloved Cafe Taizé service outside. It is bring your own chair. There's going to be snacks. Is that true? Okay. Okay, if there's going to be snacks. Jen, oh yeah, there's going to be snacks. Okay, and there's going to be a fire. And last time was wonderful. If it's another one of those things like the talent show last night, bring your friends. It's just such a great introduction. Like, just chill out, celebrate the solstice and the turning of the seasons, welcoming spring, and you might want to wear a jacket. But it's going to be a great time. It'll be in the parking lot as you drive out down there. Feel free to come. That's at 6 p.m. tonight. Are there any community announcements? Does anyone have anything they'd like to say or need to say? No? Are you sure? Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you again for coming to this community, whether you joined online or in person. It's just such a pleasure to be here with you all. It's just been a really fun, full church weekend, and that feels good. So have a great week. Don't forget to get a little dirty outside, hug a tree, and I love all of you.